Okay, hello and welcome to another edition of the Racehour podcast, brought to you with our friends at Gambling.com and, of course, the fellas at Bethard. I am delighted to say we've got a newcomer to the podcast this week. He is an EI expert. Well, maybe that isn't true. Dave Weldon is here. Dave.
How are you doing? You well?
I'm really well. Yeah, you're going to bring us all up to date on everything equine flu, aren't you?
Well, it's sorted now, so it's grand.
Oh, okay, well, thanks for the update. Let's see who else is here. Dermo Nolan's here.
How is everyone?
Doing very well. Good to have you back. Paddy Aspel.
How are you doing? You well?
Really well, really well. Now, in the normal format of the race hour, we would traditionally go and have a look at what happened last weekend. Unfortunately, there was no racing. We got into a bit of a tiz, and I think we're now out of the tiz, as our EI expert Dave Weldon just told us. It's all sorted now. Paddy, equine influenza sounds like something rather horrific, and perhaps it's not the case. What did you make of the last few days?
Yeah, no, I did tend to agree. I didn't think maybe Tristan Davis worded it very well as to when he spoke out about it, but it was sort of maybe a little bit of an overreaction because it's something that is seen every day and in the strings up and down the country where, you're always going to have one or two horses given one or two coughs and maybe after exercise, sometimes before, that's a bit more worrying if they've got a bit of something in their nose before exercise, but 95% of horses will have a little bit of something in their nose after exercise. But sometimes it depends on the texture, the colour, all sorts of little things, but it's no real big deal. But obviously once Donald McCain alerted the BHA, he was doing the right thing, but I don't know, just sort of, it was maybe 6 days of avoidable action that could have been handled differently, but nonetheless, it's done now. And to be honest, I didn't even think we'd be back in action today because of the number of horses they actually had to get round and test. I thought time was against them,
Yeah, we have to salute them for that speed in which they've pretty much put a line under it in terms of, like you said, I think they've done over 2,000 horses. Ireland were quick into action to say, let's keep racing. BHA now on the same page, although with some caveats. So there will be some horses, and when we do try and have a look at this weekend's racing, that won't actually be able to run. We will get there. On the Race Hour pod today, we are going to actually take a different tact because we don't have last weekend's racing to review. We're going to evaluate the festival favourites. We're 4 weeks out, of course, and less one day ahead of the greatest 4 days in jumps racing. So a quick fire through the state of play with 4 weeks to go. And we're going to focus on 15 favourites that will run over the 4 days at the Cheltenham Festival. That's why we brought David Weldon in. We thought we needed an expert. Dermo is going to give us his usual horses that he normally gives us. And Paddy, well, then finally we've got a voice of reason. So why don't we kick off with these? We'll go through them in day order. So, you lads hopefully are prepared for this. I was going to start with Angel's Breath, who is favourite for the Supreme Novices Hurdle. But now, actually, with some books, is not favourite. We've now got Fakar Duderis in there, reaching JP McManus purchase. I'm going to go to Dermo first. The way I want to do this, Dermo, is do you think it's the right favourite? Obviously, I've started with a bad one in terms of Angel's Breath. But if it's not the right one, what wins that race and why?
Do I think he's talented enough to win a Supreme? Yes. Do I think he's the right price at 4-1, considering he's jumped 4 hurdles in public? No. And the horse that I would be opting for this race each way is Vision Dunairdine.
Vision Dunairdine is an interesting one, isn't he? He's kind of, we probably need a little bit of cut in the ground, Dermo.
He will definitely. I mean, he's one of the horses really this year that the good ground has just, it's gotten his way. I mean, you could see it at Leopardstown. His knee accident was just so pronounced. He still ran quite well, and he's been put in his place twice by Classical Dream, but I just think any bit of give underfoot and he'd improve past all of them. I can see the angle with Fakar Duderis, but just not for me. I think he beat a load of rubbish up at Cheltenham, and I kind of would prefer to see him in the triumph with against Sir Eric.
Yeah, makes a lot of sense. I'm not sure he did enough. Fakar Duderis did enough, and also he's too young really to win a Supreme. I know it can be done. Paddy, I'll come to you next because they're both interesting points for you to maybe take up. A horse that has only jumped 4 hurdles in public, Angel's Breath, vying for favoritism for a Supreme. He's probably talented enough, probably good enough, but has he got enough experience?
Yeah, I think that's the biggest question mark, obviously, isn't it? And I mean, the way he's priced up, and like Dermo says, the amount of flights he's jumped in public, the value just isn't there, is it? It couldn't be, because the potential is there, but this is the Cheltenham Festival we're talking about. It's not just like another step up the ladder and he's at the top of the market, only haven't had one run. It's a lot to ask sort of punters to go in heavy on at that sort of price when he's so limited on experience, and he's going to come up against some other rivals here who've they've got far more miles on the clock as regards jumping hurdles. So no, I don't think he represents great value, to be honest. I mean, I can understand about Fakir Dudery. I mean, it looked a little bit sort of, I won't say, you can't say too impressive at Cheltenham the last day. But nonetheless, the way he went round there, and to win by as far as he did, I know they weren't a great bunch as far as Cheltenham standards go, but we've seen McManus sort of go shopping for horses to win this race in the past, and that's what he's done here. And I don't know, that was just a real sort of I thought that was a real positive the other day when I saw that he'd come out and he bought this, and he bought another one from the same crew, didn't he? They said them.
Bought Canetho and Blue Sari, I think, the same weekend. Yeah. So yeah, he got busy.
So they've obviously sort of done their homework. They've penciled in horses that are definitely going to go, and they think that have got a real chance at the festival. So that for me gave me a fair bit of confidence now, because these boys aren't daft, are they?
Absolutely not. they proved that in the back.
And especially for especially for the sort of money that's going to be involved. I mean, we never get to hear, but they'll have paid absolute fortunes for them. So they'd be hoping that they're obviously making the right choice.
Yeah, and it looks like their choice is going to be to split up Fakir Dadaris and Sir Eric. So Sir Eric go Triumph, Fakir Dadaris naturally go Supreme, and hopefully they've got both winners. That's got to be their plan. Dave, I'm going to come to you. Angel's Breath was the topic.
Yeah, like as the lads have said, you can't really back him at 5-1, 4-1, whatever it is, based on one run over hurdles against Danny Kerwin, was a decent bumper horse, but hasn't really progressed for hurdles. The one I like, and he's won all the right races. The break is going to do him no harm because it was the actual plan from Colin Tizard, and it's Elixir de Nuts. It's about 12-1 at the moment in places. Was given the plan. Tizard's already gave him the flu jab, so you have to take that into account as well, given the unknown factor we have over the next couple of weeks of what's within the 6 month.
I knew your vet skills would come in handy.
Exactly. Yeah, it had to come in somewhere. But he ran all the right races at Cheltenham and stuff like that. So he probably won't win. He's probably not good enough to win. And if he wins, it's probably a bad Supreme. But at 12-1, he's likely going to run to a place and going to run his race.
Okay, I can understand that. He's been put in his place, though, by a horse called Thomas Darby, hasn't he?
He had his jab yet, has he?
Thomas Darby was never going to run again between the jab situation and the festival. So they've time to do it. I know it's not positive. I think Thomas Darby, where he came up to Cheltenham Hill, actually impressed me, and he's gone and won a tin pot race just to set him up for this. I think for me, he's the value right now at 20s. So just to put scores on the board, no one thought Angel's Breath was the one to go with. We've got 3 other shouts as well with Fakir Duderis from Paddy, Vision Donaire from Dermo, and Elixir du Nuts from Dave Weldon. Okay, that's the Supreme. No ticks for Angel's Breath, sadly. So if you're on that, a big price as well. Wish you well. Let's move on to Le Richebourg. We're talking about the favourite for the Arkle here. Dave, as you went last on the first horse we talked about, you can go first with Le Richebourg and the Arkle.
He's definitely the right favourite anyway, based on all form. He's been on the go a long time. You'd have to say that's a negative. And the ground on the first day of the festival is probably going to come up good to soft.
Has to come up good to soft now.
It's probably a negative against him as well, given all his form over the winter has been on unseasonably good ground.
Okay.
I think if you look at the prices, the horse that is completely underestimated by the market is the horse that's finished second to him the last 2 times. I know you might laugh at it, but Us and Them is 28-1, 33-1 in the place. Based, it's probably going to run the Arkle with Le Richebourg, and we'll probably hack around midfield and stay on up the hill. I just think he's too big a price based on his form at Le Richebourg. He's been put in his place twice by him, but its ground is not suitable for Le Richebourg. He ran Supreme last year. Le Richebourg ran in the county. He seems to be well regarded in that sense.
Yeah, it does. And, it's considering they finished first and second in a couple of races pre-festival, forecast might not be the worst bet in the world. We don't know what the rest of them are like. Dermo, you're up next with Le Richebourg.
Right favourite. Definitely on the go quite a while. As Dave said, it's just the way he jumped the fence that was just so clean, so nice. He's done everything so easy. The one I'd like to see get another run into him is Silas Emery, but if, as we speak, Silas Emery has only ran once. So yeah, I think I'd give Larichberg my seal of approval then.
Larichberg gets the tick here from Dermo. Okay, Paddy, you're up with Larichberg. Is the concern that he's done too much? Some of these haven't done enough.
Yeah, that you could go down that avenue for sure. I just think he's very likable. He's just such a professional little horse. I mean, you've got to respect Cayley Woolcott's horse Lawler because he's been exceptional around Cheltenham. I know he was beat last time, but she seemed to have trained this horse very, very well. Both him and Larichberg, they're like chalk and cheese. He's a great big strapping chaser, whereas Larichberg he seems to be put together more like a little flat horse. But like Dermo says, the one thing I do like about this horse that I wrote in the article the other day is he really knows where he's putting his feet. And when it comes down to it at Cheltenham, if the ground does come up on the quicker side, which we don't know, but you're gonna need to know where you're putting your feet. And I think he's just clever as a cat, this fella, and he could really count on the day. I do like him, and like I say, if I was able to have the bet again, if Gary Moore turns up with not a noose, he'll end up on the floor again.
You're not his biggest fan, Paddy.
Oh, he frightens the life out of me. If I was Jamie Moore, I wouldn't go around for £1,000 on him.
So if you got the call tomorrow, and obviously they can't find a rider, Paddy Aspel, Cheltenham Winning Festival, jockey, not the noose is your ride, you're going to say no.
I would give that a swerve.
Fair enough. Okay. All right. So that's another tick, though, for Larichberg from Paddy for that race. Quick mention as well for Lawler. I'm a big Kalashnikov fan. We talked about this horse on the podcast before, and I just think it needs
too slow.
Thanks, Dermo. Yeah. Well, he certainly came up the hill fair enough in a Supreme, which everyone grabs. But if you look at the race from 2 out, if he's in the same position in the Arkle, I wonder whether he will get caught again. But we will find out because I think he hopefully gets a run this weekend.
Just Dean, on that,
yeah, go ahead.
In a normal Supreme, Somerville Boy does not win that Supreme. The 2 mistakes he made on the last 2.
The howlers, yeah.
He was 10 lengths behind turning in, and he's turned out to do nothing this year. Fair enough, he might not be right, but that can't bode well for that Supreme form.
We haven't had a lot of horses out from the Supreme, have we, to know everything we need to know about how good it was? Oh, it doesn't look vintage.
Yeah.
I'm not going to suggest it was.
Sharjah didn't let it down anyway.
Sharjah hasn't let it down, yeah.
At Galway and on good ground with race fitness.
Yeah, sure. Well, look, Kalashnikov for me, I'm going to go against Larichberg on the fact that it's been running since, I think, January and every single month ever since of last year. And I think he's
trained by the master, though.
He is indeed trained by one of them, indeed. All right, so Kalashnikov for me, 2 ticks for Larichberg. That is a score draw for Larichberg in the Arkle, 2-2. Let's move on to the Champion Hurdle. Paddy, I may as well go to you first. We all know you love Apples Jade. Bethard is the current favourite, just.
Yep, and deservedly so. I mean, look, the argument is always going to be here as regards to hurdling technique. Although Apples Jade looks better than ever this year, Bethard does have a better technique, and he's just what you need in a champion hurdler. He's so slick, he's so quick, and he just uses so little petrol getting from A to B over his hurdles. Whereas Apples Jade has at times gone slightly right and just isn't as fluent as slick as Bethard. But nonetheless, I just think that I'm delighted that Connections have taken this option of going down and letting her take a chance in the champion hurdle, because I think this is the best Apples Jade we've ever seen, and maybe she doesn't want to be any shorter at 9-4 because obviously we've got such a fine holder of the champion hurdle in Bethard. He is going to take a bit of beating on the day, and Nicky Henderson will have him down to the second for the day. But I just think Apples Jade, she's just different gravy this year, and I'm just really interested to see if she can put it up to them back over 2 mile, because so far this year she's just been phenomenal. You can't knock her,
No, you can't. And we're going to get the race everyone wants to see with Apples Jade taking on Bethard. 2-1 with our sponsors at Bethard, non-runner, no bet. Dave, are you getting stuck into that, or are you a Bethard man?
I'm not really a Bethard man. Like, kind of taking them on the last 2 years. Not
went
really
well, yeah.
Impressed. It went very well, of course, yeah. But I looked at the race with the view of taking them on. When you look at it, he's 3 pounds clear of Apples Jade on official ratings, even taking into account the mare's allowance.
Yep.
Whether she'll be quick enough over 2 miles in the champion hurdle, she's not going to get an easy lead like she did at Leopardstown the last day. Lorena, you want your head examined to back her at the prices
without
based on what she's
seeing her
done.
again. Absolutely, yeah.
Mellon has no chance based on his Leopardstown run. That didn't stop him last year, but the ground was soft. It might have been in his favour. Sharjah, I don't think there's any chance. Fair enough, has won the races he's won this year, but he had race fitness on his side, was on the go over the summer, and came up against an under par Sam Crow. So it all just leads back to Buvard there, and I think I'm coming around to the fact I think he wins.
Buvard gets the tick. I'm going to make my part really quick here. Buvard definitely gets the tick from me. Dermo, it's up to you to put the record straight and find out what our final score is for this two-time champion hurdle winner.
Yeah, as I mentioned before, Espardalen is my each way option in the race, but as far as win purposes goes, it's a big thumbs up here I'm giving to the screen that nobody can see to beat it for Buvard to win.
Okay, 3-1 to Buvard, and I think it would just be fantastic to have another three-time winner of a champion hurdle, and maybe then once he puts a proper animal to the sword in Apples Jade,
if he beats Apples Jade,
yeah,
he's a proper champion
done,
hurdle.
Isn't it? Yeah, it's absolutely done. I agree with that. All right, so that score is 3-1 to Buvard. Well done. Anyone getting involved? Actually, I think there's still a bit of value in the 2-1 around right now. Benny de Deux is up next. Dermo, I'm going to go to you first. There's probably a little bit up in the air about what might take on Benny de Deux, but let's see whether you make it the right favourite and would you be siding with it?
If she gets there in one piece, which I imagine she will, haven't heard anything, obviously. Her going there fresh wouldn't concern me at all. Willie Mullins has done this his whole career. She'll be absolutely fine. And if you take Apples Jade and Lorena out, like what else is there? There's Stormy Ireland, who Espardalen rather put in her place, and you've Limini, Lady Buttons, who's obviously been superb this season, but couldn't be beaten Benny de Deux, and Mia Storm. No, Benny de Deux wins.
Benny de Deux. Paddy Aspel up next.
Yeah, I do like Benny the Do. Very, very difficult to pick holes in it so far. I'd agree with what Dermo would say. It just depends on who's going to turn up on the day, but very, very difficult to look past that one, I'd have to say.
Okay, another tick for the Fav in the mares. Dave, well.
Yeah, tick for Benny as well. She's a proper grade 1 animal, isn't she? There's nothing really in the race to take her on if the two mares go to the champion hurdle. It's Stormy Ireland on place only. The way she ran at Punchestown the day we were there, Dean, she was very impressive.
I was going to mention it because you stole my thunder there.
Sorry.
We should have talked about this off air. Yeah, I liked her first go. But Stormy, when we were there, the way that horse pulls and tanks away, you'd have to imagine if the likes of Lorena, Apples Jade, perhaps even Limini doesn't turn up, it's 11-1 right now.
Yeah.
It's a fair punt. All right. I can't actually not give the tick to the Fav, though. So I think this is our first 4-0 winner, and that's Benny de Deux in the mares hurdle. Okay, so we'll make that 4-0. The next one up is OK Corral. Interested in this one because I think it's going to go for a National Hunt Chase. I think we're all pretty certain about that. They've had Derek O'Connor up already, and all with eyes on this race. There's obvious reasons why Connections want to win the contest. Makes a lot of sense. But this horse is good enough to run an RSA. In fact, if he ran an RSA, I think he'd be my pick for the race. I'm going to go to Dave first.
Yeah, I agree completely. He's in the wrong race.
But if he wins.
He wins, but even still, he should be going for the grade 1 rather than this race. Santini should arguably be going to this race because I'll go on to him later, but he looks a big elbow, which Dermo won't be too pleased with me saying.
No, we'll let him have a stay.
But I think he's in the wrong race, but he's the right price, and it looks a weak renewal based on the last few years. Like he'd Native River finishing third in this a couple of years ago.
Yeah.
At a price, I'd probably chance Mortal.
Okay.
Ran a good race behind Delta Work a couple of runs back.
20-1 shot Mortal, but the right Fav, and if he runs, he probably will win, won't he? Dermo, I'll throw this to you. Okay, Corral. Do you think he's in the right race? I think we're all going to agree he's the right favourite, are we?
He's the right favourite, definitely. Is he in the right race? Probably not, to be fair. He's good enough to win an RSA, but again, nothing gets an extra near Santini anyway, so it's probably better for his win chances long term anyway. That's a joke, obviously. And then, but no,
I was laughing quietly.
Okay. The one I would take on O'Corral. Okay, Corral, and the horse that I just still can't believe his price is Paul Nolan's Discorama. Ballyward is 4-1 and Discorama is 14-1. And if you watch that last run, Discorama is coming to definitely at least trouble Ballyward, if not go past at the last. and he takes a mother and a father of a fall. He's fine since. Paul Nolan said they're going to aim for this race, and Discorama has some very smart form around the Cheltenham Festival as well. Went second to Blow by Blow last year when just kind of not quite getting there. He's all about staying. His first win this season was literally stayed from an absolute mile back to catch them all late on, and 14-1 about Discorama is too big, so it's a no for OK Corral for me.
A no for OK Corral. Okay, and a shout out for Discorama. That might run over the weekend, Dermo. So you'd imagine, the double figures could disappear.
Could disappear after that, yeah.
Okay, Discorama for Dermo. Paddy Aspel's up next.
Yeah, Dermo stole my thunder there a little bit. I completely agree with him as regards Discorama, because Paul Nolan in particular is a trainer who I think so far this year his horses they've been running really, really well. He's just needed a little bit more luck. Now this fella, if he's okay, he did take a horrible old fall at Naas, but the Nolan string for me are in pretty decent order, and it's great to see that Paul Nolan's about the only trainer in Ireland that still thinks that Brian Cooper is physically capable of riding a horse.
Well said.
He's the only one that'll give him a ride. And like some of them horses that he's won on lately, especially around Naas, he's been absolutely brilliant on.
That ride on Quamino at the Dublin Racing Festival was brilliant as well by Brian Cooper.
I like how people just don't. I know he hasn't got that other job anymore, but people just think that one of his arms or something was dropped off, or he just can't ride anymore. It's just phenomenal. But nonetheless, no, Discorama, if he turns up, I would agree. If he was mentally none the worse for that fall, which if they're happy to go, he shouldn't be. But I think he represents a little bit of value. And I mean, the horse you mentioned there, OK Corral, I mean, he ran a hell of a race at the festival last year, and he probably is really too good to be running a race like this. But they're going to want to spread them out and this crew and just sort of pick up as many races as they can. But it looks, with O'Connor riding them the last day, that this looks the plan, doesn't it?
Yeah, it does. And, it's JT McNamara National Hunt Chase. Makes a lot of sense for them to be picking up the trophy and try and do it, for obvious reasons for the connection. So that's why they go there. I think he's going to be very, very hard to beat. And I'd have to give him a tick. I'd echo what you said about Discorama. I also think Impulsive Star's probably one to pick up a bit of pieces in the place market, but I'm going to give the tick to the Fav. So we've got 2 for Discorama, 2 for OK Corral. That's a score draw for OK Corral in the National Hunt Chase. The next one up, and we're moving on now to the Ballymore Novice Hurdle. A big talking horse of this season. Of course, it is named after the greatest jockey, or most people's version of what they think the greatest jockey of all time, AP McCoy, and that's Champ. Paddy, I'll go to you first. You can't help but have been impressed with this horse so far. He's 3-1 for the Ballymore.
Yeah, no, he's been very, very impressive. He's just such a strong traveller, isn't he? And it's very, very hard to pick holes in him. I mean, that said, I would imagine that Sean Mulrine will be very, very keen to win this race, won't he? His own race with the horse that won it. I know he was priced up accordingly to win it Naas the other day at 1-5, but nonetheless,
City Island.
Yeah, he looks a horse that's really got the hang of the job now, and he seems to be on the improve. And another one, I don't know whether it's Mark Walsh or whatever. He just makes things look very easy, and this horse just gets on with it. But he's got a good technique, and I mean, he won as he should have done the other day. But I mean, Martin Brazel isn't one of the bigger trainers, but I think this horse's price would be shorter if maybe he had a different name beside him. But Martin Brazel is a very, very capable trainer. He says very little, but Sean Mulrine is a very shrewd man also, and he wouldn't have Martin trained a horse if he didn't think that he was capable of prepping him to win at Cheltenham. And like I said, they'll be keen to win this race, so I don't think he's any back number. But he's got Champ to overcome, and like I say, it just depends on who turns up on the day. But I think because he's got Ian Brazel beside his name, that there's a little bit of value to be had there.
Okay, I'm going to put you down for City Island. I think it's a decent enough case made for it. A lot of reasons why they will be going all guns for it. Dave Weldon.
Champ, not for me. It's the horse that I haven't taken to this season. Don't know why. Just I haven't seen enough of him. The race he ran in, I haven't taken my eye. I think whatever Gordon sends has a great chance, either Battle of Overdyne or Commander of Fleet.
Got a choice to make, hasn't he?
Yeah. And Beakstown is no back number either. He should be running in the Albert Bartlett, but he's probably going to run here because he's not entered in the Stayer race. But he's at 16-1, so I'd be happy to take on Champ.
taking on Champ, and probably with whatever Elliot sends and maybe a tickle on Beatstown.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
Okay, all right. Dermot Nolan, please. On
Champ is going to improve
Ballymore.
massively for a strong pace that he will get at in the Ballymore, which is a frightening proposition. He looks a really, really serious contender. But again, we're talking about Andy Price, and would we back it or not? And 11-4, there's not a hope in hell that I would back that horse to win this race. The one that I've landed on is 18-1 currently with our sponsors Bethard, and it is Sam's Profile. If you go through this horse's form this season, a serious form. Beat Eclair de Beaufort, or however you say his name, who has won twice, was fourth behind Off You Go, the Dublin Racing Festival, the major handicap hurdle of 130. Next time was kind of cut out over 3 miles, but stayed on behind Darren Ross really well. Darren Ross has franked that form since, as has the big dog in fourth, and Robin DiCarlo was fourth behind Honeysuckle last time. And then on his last run was less than 3 lengths behind Battle Over Dying. And when you look at that run back, 4 out, he absolutely smacks it. Really kind of was lucky that he stayed standing. He was then hampered turning in, and Brian Cooper basically had to give up, go out to the far right and kind of come home. And he came home with a serious wet sail and only finished about 2.5 lengths behind Battle Over Dying. That horse is 4-1, and Sam's Profile is 18-1 for Mouse Morris, who you'd imagine would be bringing this horse along slowly like he always does. He's a masterful trainer and should still have those Gigginstown horses, but that's another chat for another day. But at 18-1, I think Sam's Profile, if he was to turn up here, is far too big a price.
Love that bit of value, and anything attached to Mouse Morris Yard heading to one of the big festivals, you just can't overlook. That's always been one of my modus. So Sam's Profile, very interesting shout indeed from Dermo. I think Champ's going to be very tough to beat. If they run Commander of Fleet in this race, which I hope they do, he'd definitely be my pick. But without him being confirmed for it, I'm going to give a tick to the favourite just so he doesn't end up with no points at all. He's lost 3-1. City Island, Sam's Profile, probably whatever Elliot runs for Dave Weldon, and Champ for me, guessing that one will go and my other choice won't go.
Bethard, home of the 30% combo booster, is the ultimate destination for Cheltenham punters who are serious about winning. With markets for every single festival race right now, Bethard has you covered with non-runner no bet across all the championship events. Visit Bethard today, where winners dare more. Ages 18 and over. Visit begambleaware.org.
Okay, let's move swiftly on to the RSA chase. Dermot Nolan, I have to let you go first with Santini. We know how much you love this horse from Nicky Henderson Yard. There might be a bit of vaccination issue with the horse. I'm not completely sure where they stand with it, but it sits at the top of the market for the RSA, 3-1. Nicky Henderson on record as saying slowest horse I think he's ever trained.
You kind of need that though, don't you, for the RSA? I mean, you're looking at the likes of Lord Windermere has won this race. Big boat, that's what you need. Big boat. And the races over 3 miles plus at Cheltenham are deceivingly attritional. And I know that sounds stupid, but what I mean is that people seem to think that the likes of the Grand National, people that aren't into racing think that the races like the Grand National and stuff are barbaric. And to forget about races like the Gold Cup. When you actually look at it, races like the Gold Cup and the RSA finish a lot more horses than the Grand Nationals do. And that's simply because it's a relentless gallop. There is no kind of trapping around for a mile and seeing what happens. It's from the go. You need to be in your posse. You need to be jumping. You need to be travelling. And Santini does exactly all them things, bar travel, really. He's a big dope. But like at Kempton that day, he was just taking off his feet. He just hated every minute of it. Le Bagarrois has just completely franked that. Top of the game. To be honest, I would have top of the game in the JLT. If he was mine, I think he'd be very, very hard to stop on that. Something about him, I'm not sure. He's an out-and-out stayer. I think he's full of class, but I think he's an out-and-out stayer. I think Delta Work is being overrated on form of beating Le Richebourg over 2.5 miles, which Le Richebourg that's just not his trip. OK, Corral won't run. Vindication, like him, but not good enough. On the blind side, Champagne Classic will end up in the JLT, I'd imagine. So when you go through the form, I don't really rate Delta Work all that highly, and that could be the end of me. Santini needs to get another run into him of some variety, or at least I prefer to. Nicky Henderson getting a horse there. I mean, Simon Sig turned up and won the Arkle off the back of 2 runs. Nicky has plenty of priors of this because he always does go the softly approach with his better horses. So I prefer Santini to get a run, but if he doesn't, I still think he wins. I just think he's a very good horse, Dean. plenty to find out what's under the bonnet. And whilst he's big, he's slow, he's laborious nearly, but that's exactly what you need to win a race around 3 miles at Cheltenham.
Thank you. Paddy Aspel, do you agree with what Dermo is saying about Santini, that the big old slow boat, slowest thing Nicky Henderson's ever trained, but also one of the best horses, I think he said, that he's ever trained, can go and win an RSA?
Yeah, I mean, that's it. It's funny, isn't it? He came out with that statement. But the thing is, a slow horse will win races if he's in the right race. And this is the right race for him. He's been very, very impressive in what we've seen of him so far. I mean, 4-1, you wouldn't want him any shorter now, to be honest, because, I don't think it's a desperately bad RSA. I just think it's going to cut up a bit. But I thought maybe Vindication, if he goes down this route, will be seen to better light. He did look slow at Sandown the other day. I thought, even though he fenced okay down over the railways, he was still absolutely flat to the boards. I thought he kept going all right, got a little bit tired from the back of the last, but that was simply because Dave Bass had his foot on the gas from such a long way out. I think he's all right, this horse. I don't think he's as bad as what we've seen at Sandown the other day, and I think round about 20s he does represent a little bit of value. But yeah, I would be sort of on agreement with Dermo. I think Santini is a worthy favourite.
Okay, he's a worthy favourite. A big word, though, for Vindication. I think Dave Weldon might be a fan of that horse.
Yeah, definitely, Dean. The price is all wrong for him based on the run the last day at Sandown. The trip was too short. Cheltenham's going to play to his strength. Kim Bailey came out the other day, said he's had his vaccination now, so I think the plan was to go from Sandown straight to Cheltenham as well, so it's within his prep. Santini ideally needs another run. While he did win fresh this year, I just would like to see a third run over fences from him to sharpen up any novice mistakes that he might make. So at the price, I'd be against Santini and with Vindication.
Okay. I'm a big Santini fan. Going to make that clear. But at the same time, I've also loved Top of the Game for a long time. Do you know what concerns me about Top of the Game? And he would be my pick for the race because I'm such a big fan of him. He's a big old unit. And a little bit like Dermo said about a slow old boat winning the RSA, I actually think he might be a little bit too quick. And also, he hasn't got his head in front, which I don't like.
He's a bit headless as well, isn't he?
He is, yeah, absolutely. But I would have loved him to, if he got his head in front, Tin Pot race or whatever it might be.
But he led over the last to Kempton at Christmas and then shirked it.
Yeah, I just love horses to go to the festival with a 1 next to their name.
Yeah.
It does. Yeah.
He'd win that JLT by 5 or 6 lengths, like as in
I think he's made for that.
Performance of the Coral Cup last year off that weight, like that's a serious run that he put in there, and I think he's a staying 2.5 miler, like you're saying, Dean, as opposed to I think he's a Mondelez more than a presenting Percy, let's say.
Yeah, I think we've all kind of dissed Delta Work a little bit, well, not given him the big up that perhaps
just haven't seen him, have we? He was non-runner
a few times.
He was non-runner at Dublin Racing Festival. We've seen him at Christmas.
Yeah,
it's a long break.
It is a long break. Okay. All right. Well, Santini, I've got it down as winning this 3-1, but I think it might be a slight bit closer than that. Might need VAR to work that one out at the end. We'll move on. And this one, probably the quickest one, I'm going to guess. So I'll start and just say Altior will win the champion chase. I'm not exactly, doing anything I guess no one expect me to do. Dave Weldon, does he win the champion chase?
He does, and Min chased him home.
I hope Min doesn't run there.
He does.
I hope Min doesn't run there. But regardless, Altior will still win. Yeah. Dermo Nolan?
Wins, yeah.
Wins. Paddy Aspel?
Yeah, you won't get rich backing him, but, he's priced up as he should be for sure.
Okay, that was quick. 4-0 to Altior, and rightly so. I think this next horse we're going to talk about is in the cross-country chase. Tiger Roll, it's gone into everyone's hearts, hasn't he, Tiger Roll, Dave? We're hoping he wins it. I'm almost at the stage where I just hope he wins it, whether I want to back him or not.
Yeah, pretty much. He's a really likeable horse. Like everyone thought he was gone at the game after winning the Triumph 3-4 years ago, whatever it was now, and he's come back to win the National Hunt Chase and then the Grand National.
He was beaten at Dundalk, Dave, wasn't he?
Yeah. There's a story behind that. I don't want to go into it on air.
But he was beaten at Dundalk. Like,
he was beaten in a 2-mile maiden at Dundalk.
I get the impression Tiger Roll knows where he is, right?
Yeah.
So he's at Dundalk on a crappy Monday, Friday night, whatever it was, and just went, no.
I'm not fancying this.
Don't think so.
My fear with him for this is the Grand National's clearly the target again this year. It might have been a secondary thought last year after the cross country. So whether he's going to be fully read up this year for the cross country, he'll be carrying a big-ish weight there, and he's 9 pounds higher. So you don't know. At 9-4, I'd probably rather have a sneaky 5 each way on a Hurricane Darwin or something like that who ran well over the weekend.
Okay, but if you put Hurricane Darwin up, are you saying not Tiger Roll?
I'm
Just for
not
clarity.
saying not Tiger Roll, but I would want to hear a glowing report about him
Okay.
before I parted. with
Okay.
cash.
So no for Tiger
No.
Roll.
I'm gonna say Dave said no. Dermo Nolan.
Yeah. No. Heart says yes, but the brain says that we might have another emotional story with Josie's orders winning the race.
Okay. I like Josie's orders, and I would want to take on Tiger Roll as much as I'm in the camp of I want him to win it, which is a weird position to be in. Look, it's not going to be everyone's biggest punting race of the week. Perhaps it has been in the past when the likes of Tiger Roll are likely to go and dot up, and we all get on board and we're having a good week. Paddy Aspel, Tiger Roll.
Yeah, I think you've got to look for horses. Obviously, they've got previous sort of form round tracks like this, or courses like this, should I say. And Tiger Roll, although he's only small, travels and jumps so nicely. And I mean, he's not massive value at round about where he is now, about threes, but it's hard to look past him. But what sort of a national weight did he get?
11 stone 1.
11-1, yeah.
Was he?
And he was 10-13 last year, so he kind of got off light enough, really, didn't he?
You'd say so, but I'm not sure Bristol Demise going to run the national. So, and I'm not sure maybe what else is above that, but definitely run the national. So I'd imagine he's going to run off around 11-5, 11-6.
Yeah, fair.
So
fair.
it's a fair, Paddy, a Grand National horse winning at that. If you go back 6-7 years ago, they can't win with that weight. They can these days.
Yeah, the record is better nowadays, isn't it? But still, God, he's only a little pony, really, isn't he? When you say, But then again, look, he's won one national, so I don't think size didn't count against him there. But you wouldn't like to see him with much over 11 stone on his back, would you?
No, no. Naturally, looking at a national like I have for many, many years, I'd normally just draw a line. But he is Tiger Roll, so we don't know. Would he win the cross country, Paddy?
I think I'd be happier to be with Josie's orders at the prices. I just think he's too short. Josie's orders sort of around nines or tens looks far more tempting for me.
Okay, Tiger Roll unfortunately loses 4-0, which is a bit of a shock. But
he'll be the only winner on this list as well now.
Now that is very possible. We will be keeping this for the review after the festival is done and see how we all got on. Let's move on then to the JLT Novice Chase. You could argue who should be favourite for this race, but Defi Desoy is there. The purpose of this is to decide whether we think Defi is the right favourite, likely to win the race. Dave Weldon, you're up first.
I have no real opinion on the race. I don't think Defi 205 around Cheltenham doesn't appeal to me at all. It's just a real windy race. It depends what goes the RSA. It depends what drops back to the Arkle.
Did you say windy?
Windy, yeah.
Windy, okay.
Windy, yeah. What do you think I said?
I don't know what that means, though.
It's just like it's up in the air. It's
okay. All right, I'm with you. All right.
You don't really know what's going to win. I to be honest, it's not a race I figured out yet.
So that's not a no or a yes.
It's a no for Defi.
No for Defi. Dermo Nolan, I think Defi Desoy should be in the Arkle. I know he stays a bit further than 2. His jump, he seems to be back to full revs from after a quiet season for the Hobbs Yard. If he ran in the Arkle, I'd be interested to see how he got on against the likes of Larishberg and Kalashnikov. But it looks like they go for the JLT. He did win over further last time out.
Yeah, he should be in the Arkle. It's definitely no for me for him. To be honest, I think this market is being built foolishly around one piece of form between Lost in Translation and Defi Desoy. I mean, Lost in Translation was a 40-1 shot in that Supreme last year. Just he's not a very good horse. As in, he's not a Grade 1 horse, let's say. He's more than talented, obviously, and he is a Grade 1 winner, but same as Defi Desoy, it's the whole market is built around these 2 horses, and it's quite silly, really, when you look through the rest of the field. And there's horses that are bigger prices simply because there's like Top of the Game is in there, Le Bague Roi, they're not going. Larishberg's not going to end up here. Kalashnikov, regretfully, is not going to end up here. So, like, the one that I think a 12-1 who's running the weekend, who I think will be shorter afterwards, is a previous Cheltenham Festival winner and a Grade 1 winner who beat Penn Hill, is Champagne Classic. And at 12-1, I think he'll be much shorter after this weekend if he puts it all together. And I just think those front 2 are very vulnerable. But as Dave said, it's a race that is definitely windy.
windy, apparently. Paddy Asphalt, you're up with Defi Desoy, and this market is a bit more up in the air, perhaps, than some of the other ones we've talked about.
Yeah, it is. I mean, you would say at the minute the top two there are taking, probably too much out of the market, but he's just got such a good record around Cheltenham, and I think really it was a funny race today. Lost in Translation beat him round there. I know he's got the better of him since quite easily at Sandown, but I don't know. He just seemed to really take his eye off the job from the back of the last that day at Cheltenham, and he just gave Lost in Translation another chance just to come and get him. And very strange race, but I just think he's a previous festival winner. I mean, he's been to Cheltenham 6 times and he's won there 4. I mean, that just takes a fair bit of beating. It's just course form is massive for me, and I'm just struggling to go against him.
I'm with you. I struggle to go against them as well, Paddy. I think I'm going to give my vote to Defi Desoy on the basis that, as Dermo went through and as Dave kind of alluded to, I'm not even sure this market is right. A lot of these horses aren't going to pitch up in this race unless they make last-minute decisions. I wouldn't be surprised if Defi Desoy goes off shorter than his current price because there isn't a great load to take him on. Maybe something like Champagne Classic will come out of the wings this weekend, or maybe a Hardline who's entered, I think, for everything will probably shorten up. That's a big enough price at around 20s. Kildasar, horses like that will turn up in here, I would imagine. Defi Desoy, I'm going to give it a tick. That makes it a score draw, so that is a 2-2 for Defi Desoy. Let's talk about the next horse on our list here, which is for the Ryanair Chase. A little bit like the JLT. Do we know if this favourite is going to go for this race? Dave Weldon said no already, and it's Min. Min is in the market there, top price at 5-1. Dave, it seems we're hearing you're going to go and take Altior on again.
Yeah, that's what it sounds like, and I think it's the right decision, in my opinion. Like, he's ran second behind in a Supreme and in a Queen Mother last year. I actually don't think he'd stay at Cheltenham over 2 mile 5. He got outstayed by Politolog, who we'll see the weekend at Ascot. At Aintree last year. And I only won a John Durkin this year, but I'd be taking him on because I don't think he's going to go here. And I'd probably take him on with I'd like to see Balco the Flow go back here and run this race after winning it last year. I think this season's been a complete write-off for him, and he could go here. And another one that might run here, he might run a Gold Cup either, is Coney Island. Absolute helpless last year. You couldn't back him based on any form, but it's just the way he's won a couple of races over the last couple of years, and the 2 runs this year, he's kind of shown he's back to some level of form. And strong, quick Ryanair will suit him, and at 28-1, I think he's the wrong price.
That's an interesting shout. He won a Drimore, didn't he?
Yeah.
And in really nice fashion.
Really
I think Alpha de Zobo was in that race. We're going back that far.
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah, Coney Island's an interesting shout if that turned up. Paddy, I'll come to you next. Min is current favourite for the Ryanair.
Yeah, I mean, for me, there was a couple in this that I liked. I thought that will Footpad go?
It's a big question. I mean, it's not going to run this weekend, so it would make sense that it goes there.
They'll split Footpad and Min, will they?
It looks like if Min goes to take on Altior again at Cheltenham Chase, you'd imagine they'd have to run Footpad here if he's fit.
Yeah, I mean, I think if either Footpad or Album Photo for me turned up for this, they would represent more value for me. Like I said, I've mentioned before, I just think that he really has been luckless, Album Photo, but he's a highly talented horse. And I was very taken with the Tremor run. The form of that race. People might sort of scrap it and say it's Tremor form, but it's good Tremor form. And the way he done it that day, because for me, Tremor really wouldn't be his track, but the way he travelled around and jumped, and the form of it has worked out very nicely. And I mean, I've seen all sorts of prices from sort of 12s and 16s. For Album Photo, I think he's great value, really, and if Footpad turned up and he's around 8 or 9s, I'd be much sort of happier to be in that sort of camp.
I think you're probably touching on a couple that if they did turn up would get smashed off the boards. Dermo, one of your favourite horses is running in this, potentially, waiting patiently.
Yeah, and that's exactly what we've had to do. I think he'd be he'd be a very apt winner this weekend after waiting for racing for a week. We're waiting patiently, able to win the Ascot Chase. I was very disappointed that they didn't roll the dice with him last year. I think he would have beaten Balco the Flow in that Ryanair. Especially the ground came up soft to heavy. It was absolutely ideal. He's an excellent horse. I think he really is as good as anything. I have this horse down as being a future Gold Cup winner, but again, staying would obviously be the question. I think we can accept that Min's probably not going to run in this. They're being non-committal, but you should never run from one horse. I know Altior is a very special beast indeed, but it's happened before. Anything can happen. And if you'd Min running in the Ryanair and you finish second, and God forbid something did happen to Altior, and you'd look and feel an absolute fool. So I think Min, just with the form of that Irish Champion Chase, or not the form, but the level of performance, I think you'd have to roll the dice with Min. And I think then you end up with Undisso as Fav, and whilst he's a very good horse, very likeable, just last year again at Cheltenham, really, he just kind of showed his age more than anything. And I think Waiting Patiently would kick Footpad to the curb. He'd kick Road to Respect. He'd kick a lot of these aside, really. And the other one that I'd be interested in is Monley, because that Presenting Percy form is going to prove to be very strong. He just didn't stay the 3 miles, but he lived up with Presenting Percy for a long time in that race. So Waiting Patiently is definitely the one, but I can see Monley shortening as well after this weekend if he puts it up to Presenting Percy over 2 miles 4 a going park.
You imagine he might do, and Waiting Patiently be out as well. This market's going to take a bit of a shake-up. I'm in the camp that if they run Min here, win, and I think they'll win well. So I would say, I think it's 3-1 with Bethard, non-runner, no bet. I don't think that's the worst bet in the world. He won't. I don't think he'd go off any longer than that if he turned up in the race. So Min, for me, gets a tick, but it's actually lost this 3-1. Paddy, I'm coming to you first on the Stayers Hurdle, a favourite that has leapt to favouritism with some very, very taking performances is Paisley Park.
Yeah, I mean, look, I think the fact that he's been to Cheltenham now and he's had a feel of the track, and I mean, when we done the blog there a few weeks ago, we were struggling to have him, weren't we, off the back of that Ascot run. We thought maybe the race was a little bit watery in the end, the way it panned out and fell apart a little bit, but he backed that up in no uncertain terms the last day. And I just, for a horse like that was dusting the whole way, even on the approach to the last, he pricked his ears. And I mean, Emma Lavelle said that was the first time in his whole life he'd ever jumped a hurdle in front on his own. And he's come the whole way up the Cheltenham Hill with his ears pricked, not doing a stroke, and he's still gone and won by sort of 10 or 12 lengths. And just, they've not got to the bottom of this horse so far this year. And so we don't actually know how good he is, but one thing we do know is that he is certainly on the improve. His price reflects sort of off the back of that performance. It has taken a bit of a knock, but so you wouldn't say he's representing series value, but for me now, it's hard to knock him. I think he put plenty of doubters to bed the last day, and it's course form.
Yeah, he did. The doubts that we might have had about him, Dave, were kind of, as Paddy says, put to bed the last day. Is there something else in that Stayers market that makes you want to take on Paisley Park?
I think he's probably one of the bets of the festival at the moment. Really? You look at the market, Apples Jade is second in. You've Penn Hill, who we haven't seen since last year. Sam Crow, fair enough, Gordon was a bit positive on him yesterday. But you're taking a lot on trust there as well. Super Sunday, we know where we stand with him. Mellon, Faheen, Black Up, he's hammered Black Up the last day. Yamworth, we haven't seen in a year. Benny goes to Mares, Mr. May doesn't go top notch. Suddenly you're into 20-1 shots plus any price you want. I think the 2-1 out there, Paisley Park, won't be available on the day. It should be snapped up now.
Okay, I mean, it's only the price right now that makes me say I can't back Paisley Park. But if he was that price on the day and all those horses we just mentioned are not there, that price isn't there.
It's going to cut up terrible.
Yeah, exactly. You have to draw a few lines and then go 9-4 actually looks massive. Or 2-1 or whatever he is right now. Dermo, Paisley Park.
Oh, yeah, this horse has kind of broken my heart all season in that I just haven't thought he was very good and didn't think he was very good. And, he was indeed very good last time. He was really impressive. The one thing I just had the feeling, I'm not sure if it's my brain conditioning me to try and make me believe I'm right in this, is that it had the feeling of a race last time that kind of fell apart. And I was enthused to read Simon Rowland's article on it. Obviously one of the best time judges there is out there, originally from Timeform. And Paisley Park, when he did up the fractions of it, the horses in front, including Black Op, they murdered themselves, absolutely killed themselves. And turning in, their fractions dropped dramatically. And Paisley Park's kind of, he was constructive and smart in the way he ran, and that he kind of kept going. But if the likes of Black Op could be given a bit more of a conservative ride, he'll get closer to him. So whilst he's the most likely winner, Penn Hill is obviously there as well, hopefully. But it's no, Dean. I'm actually going to say no.
Thanks.
That was very windy.
You did get there. That was, as Dave says, windy. Yeah. Are you a Black Op or Penn Hill man though, or neither?
If Penn Hill got there, I'd be a Penn Hill man. But Black Op would be an each way bet as well, in my opinion.
3-1 to Paisley Park. I'm just going to side with the fact that I don't know enough about the rest of them and how well they are and where they're going to turn up. Black Op, I really like. Penn Hill, I understand that angle too. Paisley Park 9-4 might look massive though come the day of the actual race. Let's talk about a horse that we've mentioned a few times actually on this Racehour podcast, Dermo, and that is Honeysuckle's favourite for the Mares Novices Hurdle. 4-1, still a bit of value in that?
Yes, I mean she's been superb. Like the beating a Sassy Diva, albeit receiving form, no doubt. She was effortless there really, and then last time, without even jumping that well, she still put that field to bed relatively easy. The second favourite, Epitante, we've all been hearing all season or in the preseason about how highly she was thought of. It's just odd we haven't seen her since. I really don't know where she's been. The lack of soft ground maybe has held her up, but still Honeysuckle comes into this as a much more experienced horse. And when you run through it, Elusive Bell is decent, Sonoria is decent. Relegate, I don't even think she has an entry for this. I'm pretty sure she's going for the Albert Bartlett. Posh Trish, Honeysuckle's better. Yeah, I mean 4-1, Dean. She's definitely a bet.
Paddy, you been impressed with Honeysuckle so far?
I really have, and I think Connections have been very, very lucky. They're getting a right team of mares together, but I think Honeysuckle, for me, and what I've seen so far and all known evidence, is top of the tree there, and I think she's a cracking bet, to be honest, and is even now still representing a bit of value.
Dave Weldon.
Yeah, Honeysuckle. You just have to look at her first run over hurdles. She beat a horse called Muscovy, who was rated 127 by 12 lengths, and that horse has won its next 2 runs. I don't think it's actually the worst. It's probably the best Mares Novice we've had, but I think Honeysuckle is the right favourite and will win.
Okay. I think we all know from previous editions of the Racehour, and our regular listeners who listen to it will know that we're all Honeysuckle fans. That's just been confirmed. I'm going to make it 4-0. I think it's the third one we've got through out of these 15 favourites at the Cheltenham Festival so far that gets the 4-0 vote. And it's actually the best price so far. 4-1 is currently out there about Honeysuckle for that Mares Novices. We've 2 races left. We did touch on the next one we're going to talk about earlier on when we're talking about some of the novice hurdlers, and that's Eric. Have you seen, Paddy, a more professional, a more qualified horse for the job in better hands, but go to a Triumph hurdle before? I guess Nicky Henderson's had some similar ones, but Sir Eric with the O'Briens, the right colours, great flat form, he looks ready-made for a Triumph.
Yeah, I mean, I thought that the way that race panned out the other day, and then what they did with his price, I thought all the value just drained away very quickly on the back of what was an unsatisfactory race. I mean, we did say at the time, you can't knock Sir Eric. It wasn't his fault that they let him off on the front end. All he could do was go and jump his hurdles and win his race, and that's what he did. But, it's not like he was tested in any way, and he's come through with flying colours and absolutely, he's absolutely trounced them to come into that price. He was led away on the front end, a horse who jumps and travels and does everything very, very easily and straightforward. I just thought all the value that was there would have dropped out straight away. I still think he'll win, but, when I heard, 2 minutes after the race, the sort of price he'd been clipped into, I thought it was very harsh, really, because it was, as far as Cheltenham trials go, it was no Cheltenham trial, really, the way the race panned out,
Yeah, I get you. I do. I understand that. I thought he kind of got a real muggy enough lead, a very clever ride, just went and did his job. He just looks the real package. So you wonder, even if he was tested, what might have happened to him, Dave?
He would still would have won.
That's my
on Dave.
He's a cert. He's
set. Okay.
Yeah.
6-4 now.
Yeah, I'd still back it. I'd back it all the way into even money.
It's interesting, isn't it, that you've got the likes of Fakir Dairies who they're
Won't
not
go.
going to run against their own horse now because it's been purchased. Band of Outlaws, you'd imagine, isn't going to go there as well.
Yeah, Joseph was trying to talk down his run the last day to get him into the Fred Winter, which I don't
Yeah.
think he did a good enough job doing.
Okay.
Gardens, it was well beaten by Sir Eric. The Nichols horse is next in. We haven't seen him in this country or in the UK. And then leave Tiger Tap Tap, who Sir Eric has beaten twice now.
Correct.
And then you're at 14-1 shots and bigger.
This horse could go off odds on, Dermo.
Yeah, and deserves to. I mean, it's a horse who finished 2.5 lengths behind Stradivarius last season on the flat. He's a serious machine of a horse altogether. He's pulled his jumping together. The one flaw, obviously, that was his jumping was very poor the time before, and it probably wasn't tested adequately last time. But just as Mark Walsh picked him up, just the way he pinged the last hurdle would suggest to me that he's got his act together in that regard, and he stays. He'll go up the hill. He jumps. He travels. He has it all really. And whilst I would give Gardens of Babylon actually a bit more of a chance because he didn't get out enough and had to fly home around the outside. And way back home is just after franking that form of the race where Gardens of Babylon beat Surin last time at Ferryhouse just there. Won very impressively, and they put that horse away quite easily. So Gardens of Babylon probably represents value at 16-1, but I definitely would be giving the big thumbs up to Sir Eric.
Yeah, and it's a big thumbs up across the panel. That's 4-0, and the fourth one to make it a 4-0 across the board. The last horse we're going to talk about, and we've nearly we actually have pretty much come to the end of evaluating festival favourites, presenting Percy. Now, myself, Dermot, and Paddy have all talked about this horse on the Racehour podcast. So we're going for a bit of new expertise from David Weldon, who's put in a very good debut on the Racehour so far. I think you might live or die about what you say about presenting Percy, though. So you can go first.
I'm going to take him on.
Okay.
It's a no from me. I absolutely adore the horse. I've loved him since the first time I saw him. But I know Pat Kelly campaigns his horses in strange ways to normal people. But he's never run over 3 miles in a grade 1 open company. This is 3 mile 2 around Cheltenham. I just think he probably lacks a little bit of experience in that kind of a field. He's going to run the weekend over 2.5 miles in the Red Mills. He was beaten in it last year, so there won't be a massive panic if he's beaten in it this year. But I just think he might just get found out. And it's more a price thing as well. If he was 8-1, I'd be probably willing to side with him. But the fact he's 5-2 now just means I'm looking for a bit more value. And the one I've kind of come down on is Definitely Red. It's done nothing wrong this year. They probably over-raced him last year, not thinking he was a Gold Cup horse. And I just think going there fresh, he might just set up for him.
It's an interesting shout. We got called out when we did our Gold Cup preview on the Racehour by Jamie Brownlow, who's a listener to the Racehour. So thank you very much, Jamie. And he said, I think you've all missed the trick. You didn't mention Definitely. We didn't even mention him.
It actually took me a while to find him in the market, because he was down a fair bit.
He's done nothing wrong. He's campaigned towards the race this year as well, exactly. as you've pointed out. Okay, he's a big price, and it's a no for presenting Percy. So thank you, Dave. Paddy Aspel on presenting Percy. And we're sticking to is he the right favourite? Do you think he'll win? Let's go there.
Yeah, I do, because I just think he's trained by an absolute master, he's really wrapped this horse up, but, he just does a fantastic job of producing them. And, for a guy who doesn't have many horses, but, the ones he does have are very good, and he races them very sparingly, but he absolutely, he fine-tunes the job with them to the second. I think he's phenomenal. I was really looking forward to seeing this horse again at the weekend. I thought he was a little bit laboured in his reappearance at Gorham, but look, he's not going to get older without getting any wiser. But he did what he had to do. There was a big crowd turned up that day to see him, and there was a big crowd stood down the last, and he pricked his ears and had a look at them, and so therefore he just went in and popped it, and probably visually didn't look very impressive in the way he did it. But I thought the horse in himself, in the flesh, because I was very keen to see him, because there was just one or two little doubts, because Davy Russell seemed to be a little bit sort of he didn't want to talk about the horse too much, or where he was going to go, or what was happening. But I thought he sort of put plenty of doubts to bed the last day, and I'm looking forward to seeing him at the weekend, and hopefully all roads lead to Cheltenham.
Yep. Okay, that's a vote for presenting Percy from Paddy Aspel. Dermo Nolan, you can. It's 1-1.
Yeah. So as I've been saying, Album Photo would be my each way shout, but unless you for some reason haven't seen the horse run, you can only be blown away by what he's done. I would be a small bit concerned, as what Dave was saying, about potentially not knowing past 3 miles, but it's just he's the only potential superstar really in that first 10.
It's not even about the 3 miles. I've no doubt this day. Like he won a Grand National trial at Punchestown, Porterstown, was it?
Yeah, but that's
he won last year. there's no doubt about staying. It's just whether he'll be able to handle. Like, it's probably going to be a 20-runner field. If you go through the field, you can see 20 likely runners.
Which would be brilliant.
Yeah, but he handled that in the attempts that time as well. It's just
the handicap,
Yeah, it's just, I completely get that, but it's just, I don't see anything in that field at the moment that's as good of them. I'm sick of taking him on, and Presenting Percy gets a big thumbs up from me.
He's finally won Dermo Nolan round, probably in the hardest race he's ever, well, obviously the hardest race ever going to go for. Okay, so Presenting Percy, well, it gets 2 yeses, 1 no. I'm a no, even though I love Presenting Percy. And so I just think there's
he's a hard horse not to love, like.
Yeah, absolutely. But there's too many horses in here that are not, I wouldn't say cliff horses, but career horses.
He's not that hard a horse not to love. I mean, when after winning a race, the connections now have told you before the Pertemps that he was on too high a mark. They told you the last day that he's probably he could end up in the Stayers hurdle. He's not that hard a bunch of people not to be enamored with sometimes, I think.
Okay. I'm still going to go no, which makes it a 2-2 for Presenting Percy this afternoon on the Racehour, brought to you by Gambling.com and, of course, the fellas at Bethard. Look, lads, it's been an absolute pleasure to go through those 15 favourites at the Cheltenham Festival. We're 4 weeks less 1 day out from the best 4 days jumps racing we're going to get. And with all the equine flu, thanks for the update, David. Obviously, it really helped us put things in perspective. And with all that kind of messing around and who's had a vaccination and everything, I think we're wasting our time to start looking at this weekend's entries. It's just great to have racing back. It's great to have some of the horses out that we're looking forward to at the Cheltenham Festival back on the racecourse. So Paddy Aspel, Dermo Nolan, David Weldon on his debut, and myself from the Racehour. Thank you all very much for taking us through these. And let's just a quick mini, silent round of applause for racing being back this weekend. Thanks, everyone.
Check out Gambling.com today for up-to-date horse racing trends, betting news and strategy guides. Take advantage of our exclusive bonus offers for the biggest online bookmakers and casinos. At Gambling.com, we write daily tipping pieces on the biggest sports. We find the best prices so you don't have to. Make placing a bet easier. Visit Gambling.com today.